Hello, welcome today to Sumo Training. I don't know too many of the names too well, so I'm going to make sure to put them on the video. But welcome, and today I'm going to try to do a longer type video. I'll make a shorter version of it in the form of a reel. But I am going to do a lot of the sumo workouts. I can't pronounce all of the names, but Shiko and Suriyashi are the two that we're going to focus on. That is the leg stomps and the push forward. So I'm going to try to refine those on my own because I'm also new to this. If you would like to follow along, if you'd like to take inspiration from this, feel free to. There's also a lot of other videos out there that showcase really how to do it. But I want someone to be able to see from a beginner's perspective, from someone without a coach, from someone without a facility getting to actually go to Japan and see these people do this. How can you do it? And is it really, realistic? And I would argue it is. And so I'm going to get started because in this routine, I'm probably going to be doing like 200 to 300 of these. That is pretty common for what they would do. And it sounds excruciating, but that's what you got to do. So let's start with just slowing down this long. It's so much more painful. Wait for a second. We do about 15. I'll probably do sets of 15. Just so I don't forsake too much quality. Good. So it seems what I find easier is to focus on the movement instead of going up. When I'm worried about raising my leg, I stop focusing on balance, and I can't even make it near as high as my leg. So that's what I would recommend. When you're down, focus on this moving up to pivot into this leg. When you do, so it sucks to do it in slow motion. When you do, you'll be able to do it a lot smoother. Whereas if you just focus on this leg, this one's not gonna be stable enough for this one to go high. So definitely wears on you over time. I mean, a 2-hour rehearsal or practice of this, it'll wear your legs out, especially if you aren't used to, this much conditioning on them. It's definitely worth it though. I think a lot of people who play sports, a lot of people who have trained their legs and whatever they're doing, they have a lot of potential within this sport. And I found it very interesting that it doesn't really care about your lower legs right now as much until your upper legs are strong. That's where I felt it first. That's probably where I'll feel it again. But when I started, my legs were sore for I think 3 to 4 days. It changed the way I walk downstairs because I more like to stumble down them. So do keep that in mind. But I think overall it's a really great exercise. I recommend sumo workouts for anyone to try. It really can build your leg strength. And for someone who's clumsy, that can also help maybe I won't fall over as much. So it's good exercise. A little bit of background into sumo as to why they do this. This used to be a tradition to please their gods. And by stomping down on the ground, they believed that they were also stomping away the demons and putting away the evil forces. So when they stomp into the ground, originally it had a very important purpose within the Japanese traditions. They also do things such as sprinkling salt to make sure everything's purified within the arena. And a lot of the things they do, the whole thing was done to please the gods in their tradition. But it's very interesting to kind of see their background and how these people at the highest level were given everything they could want, were held as some of the highest. And even within the words of sumo, it translates to strength man. And so in their tradition, when you were that big, you were a strong man. You were able to push others away. You were able to defend your own. And so it's crazy how their version of strength didn't rely on people being skinny and people looking the absolute best in their physique. I don't think they had modeling competitions for sumo wrestlers, but it's just so interesting to see that difference between what we value and what they valued way back then and even towards now within sumo. So that being said, I'll do another rep, but I kind of just wanted to share that with y'all, and I hope y'all can take that into a little bit of learning. And even though today I only have like around an hour or so, I'm gonna keep trying to do this pretty well, and then I may do some of this and then some of the, forget if I say it wrong, Suriyashi. And I'm gonna try to swap between the two a little bit just so I can show y'all and you don't get bored of just doing 15s. And I'll also try to put a timestamp within the video. So let's get back to it. Just a small update. One of the intimidation parts of Shiko is that you're able to stomp. When I talked about stomping, I talked about how it was to push your way, intimidate whatever, the evil forces. It's also there to, intimidate your opponent. So when you go up, you can bring your arm up. And when you go down, you can slap your leg. What that does is it not only shows, to the ancient tradition, but also it makes it seem a lot more powerful. Now, you don't want to absolutely be slamming your foot 100% down every single time. It's good to train putting force behind your leg, but especially if you're a beginner and you're not used to long training, then I would do 50 to 60% power, just because you don't want to wear your feet out, and especially if you're doing long training, you don't want to wear yourself out too quick, or else everything you do after that will be crazy. It's also crazy how this is kind of taking me out of breath after doing it a lot, because there's just so much focus on balance that it actually wears on you. Because if you're doing any of this and you have your leg way up in the air and you're not balanced, you're gonna fall over. I nearly messed up there and had to redo one. I haven't fell over yet, but it just goes to show how easily this can be misdone, how easily you can try to do something right and then just kind of flop. And so, that's part of life. I never said I was an expert at this, but I'm glad you can also see my failures, because I feel like this shows the average person more than one of the elite creators out there, who I love that they did it, but it may not show the average person that they can do it because they're stronger than the average person. Chances are I'm not as strong as the average person, at least within the form of martial arts, because I haven't really trained for any. And so sumo's kind of the first one for me, and I do think I have the weight aspect of it, but also, I have terrible balance, and so I still have to focus, and it's still a good workout. I think what I'm gonna do next is some of the pushing practices, just down and back. I'm gonna do this a few times, and then I may either reset the camera or I may just, clip some of the reps out, because I don't want this to record others when they come in here, get in their way. And I may have to go back and forth a different way, since this is a public gym. I would love to have an actual ring and setup and some of the sand to practice on, but unfortunately we don't have that here, so I'm just on a hardwood floor. So that being said, I'm going to kind of do some reps and show you how the second exercise that they would do in their normal practice would be. I don't think I'll get to show you the other ones, just because, I'll get to show you one of the ritual claps, but I don't know how much time I'll have to show you everything. So here is the next exercise. I'll explain it. So that is a couple reps back and forth. If you notice, I didn't do them all the same. That is very important to note. It's great to go back and forth. It's great to train your feet to slide and have as much surface area on the ground as possible, making it harder for people to move you. But that gets boring after doing rep upon rep upon rep. So what I like to do is something that I actually took inspiration from who was it? I think it was one of the strongmen who did it. In that video, they showed that they would actually simulate going around as if someone's going around the side of the ring real quick. It's like, because you're not always going straight forward. What if they go to the left or right? And so you get these practices where they say, I'm gonna do this, and they push forward, they've got their hands, and then they simulate someone moving to the side. So I think that is a great addition. It helps train for more realistic fights, I would say. And also the style of pushing. Now, I'll probably make an entire video on this, but I may make this into a short clip as well. So you may also see this on Reels. Sumo is a very interesting Japanese martial art that has a lot of tradition mixed in, but also has a lot of valuable fighting skills in terms of quick burst of how to get your opponent down and how to maintain your ground in a basic fight. So, what are the types of pushes that you can do? Well, first off, you have the standard palm face out pushes. This allows for the most strength within the base part of the arm to push them. But sometimes that won't always work. And even though in a lot of standard drills, you will see push, push, there's also a lot more than that. Of course, there's the grabs on their belt, but what if you're not able to reach that? What if they swat your hand out of the way? What if you can't get a firm grasp? Well, there are actually slaps. You can go for a slap towards the face, although a lot of people don't like to do that. I personally wouldn't recommend it, but there are sumo wrestlers who do that. So that's important to note, especially every competition tournament may have different rules on that slightly, but that's one way. You can also go for a push on the shoulder or even towards the neck. And while I don't want to just like choke somebody out, if you go here, you can push them. And so that is a very valuable way that someone can try to get them off their balance, or at least to move to a slightly different direction than where they're at instead of just standing there. You also have what people will do as strikes. And that also can be really great for blows that keeps the opponent off guard. If they lose their balance, they're going to keep off balance if you're able to keep pushing them out. Now, also one thing to note is in practices a lot, I will, but know that that is mainly in practice and not in competition. People don't actually go to compete and just start grunting and yelling, but to put your energy behind it and to feel it in the way you're speaking, in the breath, it just adds one more layer of kind of like in the moment and commitment. And so when you're trying, if you go, versus if you go, you kind of like, you feel a difference. And so the grunting is mainly for you, of course, but I do find that valuable to kind of show that you're putting your mind to it. And so sometimes whenever I'm doing strikes or even just like pushes, I may do that just for practice, but don't actually do that in a real competition. If you want to hear more about sumo, let me know and let me see what part about sumo you want to find. If we get enough subscribers, I may go ahead and do a competition somewhere. So if you want to see that, let me know. And hopefully I'll be able to collab with some other people, teach some sumo, and I'm just excited for the journey. So thank you so much. There we go. Now that that's out of the way for Reels, I want to talk to you for Reels. Sorry, that was a terrible joke. I would like to keep doing this. I don't know if it would be good for the video to just see a bunch of reps back and forth. I'm going to do one more push back and forth, and I'll come over here in the video. But I just wanted to say, if you haven't already, please subscribe. It helps the channel a lot. I know I'm small, I know I'm not really going to try to be famous, but if anyone likes sumo, I would like to think that this is a good resource for someone to be able to watch and for someone to be able to find out what does this look like in a real world beginner setting? Of course, you can do this to any extent that you like. You can do 30 chicos, you can do 300, which is the first exercise I did. You can do the push back and forth. You can do that for however many reps. Often they end up doing that for like 15 or 20 minutes in the full 2 hours. So I'm not saying you always have to do a 2-hour workout. I rarely will actually do the 2-hour workout, but at the same time, anything that you can do is helpful. And while I was thinking about it, actually, I'm going to do one more. This will also probably be for a short, but I think this is good to know. This is kind of one of the rituals in balance, and it kind of just claps, lifts away. And I would have to look up more for the meaning because I didn't study too far behind this, but it is very traditional, and so it's also good for balance. So I'm going to show you this instead. So what you're going to do is you're going to wipe your hands a couple times, you're going to let it out, and you're going to clap. And you're going to do this, turn your arms back down, go here, stand up. Now, it may feel a little bit uncomfortable. That also gets you to stretch wide, and it tests your balance because you're on your toes the entire time and on your ball of your foot. And so when you're doing this, and you're like stretching out all the way, it helps with stretching, but it also helps with balance. I forgot the name, I'll try to put it on there, of that stretch, but I just thought it'd be cool to show you. In future videos, I'll try to show you more concepts and more stretches, more ideas. But like I said, if you like this, let me know what you want to see next. Until then, keep good. Have a happy day. See you next time.